Hey y'all, welcome back to the Briles Bunch, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Courtney, and today's video is going to be a super fun one. I'm going to be sharing 6 easy dessert recipes with y'all. There's going to be 3 apple ones and 3 pumpkin ones, so perfect for Thanksgiving or this fall season, or pretty much just whenever you want a yummy dessert. But first things first, are you team apple or team pumpkin? I'm team both, so all of these were very delicious, and a couple of them are kid friendly. You'll see the kids helping me with one because it's something that we make every single year. So let's get on into this video. I hope you guys enjoy it and that maybe it gives you a last minute recipe idea for Thanksgiving or just in general whenever you need one. But I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, I would love to have you subscribe to be part of our YouTube family. First pumpkin dessert that we're going to make is super simple, 3 ingredients, and it is going to be kind of like pumpkin blondies kind of. I've got my little cake pan here. We're going to spray it. Got the oven preheating to 350, and just going to mix all 3 of these ingredients together, and I'll get into the measurements in just a second. We've got 1 can of pumpkin puree, a bag of Betty Crocker chocolate chip cookie mix, and then we'll use 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Then mix it all together, put it in the pan, and then cook it on 350 for 20 to 25 minutes. Simple as that. So here it is. It looks really good and smells amazing. Now I just need to try it. Not as much like a blondie as I would expect, but it still tastes really good. It's really soft rather than crunchy. I guess you could cook it a little bit longer, but it resembles kind of like pumpkin bread a little bit, but you can still kind of taste the cookie. It's different, but it's really, really good. The next dessert is going to be a raw apple cake. Our family has actually made this one for years and we all love it. I've got 3 cups of thinly sliced apples, and you'll want to peel them and then thinly slice them. You can use Fuji or Aroma. I think those work the best. And then we've got a pack of butterscotch morsels, 1.5 cups of sugar, 2.5 cups of self-rising flour, then 2 eggs, and 3/4 a cup of oil. The first thing I did was get 2 separate bowls out, and then in this first one I've got all of the apples and I'm mixing in all of the flour together with that until they're very well coated. And then in the second bowl I've got my eggs, oil, and sugar that I mix together, and once I get both of those mixed together in separate bowls, we'll mix the 2 bowls together in one. So here you can kind of see me dumping all of the flour, like even the excess flour, and I think I should have just done the apples that were coated in the flour into the bowl, but either way it still came out tasting fine, so I don't know if it really makes a difference or not, but that would be my suggestion, and that's what I plan on trying out next time I make it. After I stirred up all of my apples, this is the consistency that mine looked like. Then I took it all and poured it into a well-sprayed 9x13 pan, spreaded it out, and then dumped the whole bag of morsels right on top. I just spread them out evenly as well as I could, and then stuck it in the oven on 400 for about 35 minutes. 35 in my oven was a little bit too long, like the morsels were a little bit brown around the edges, so I would start watching it around 30 minutes to get it to your liking, to make sure that those butterscotch chips don't get burnt. So this is how mine turned out. We already knew we were gonna love it since we've had it many times before. So I would definitely recommend trying this one out if you haven't had something like this before, because it is so, so delicious. For this pumpkin recipe, we're gonna be making some really yummy pumpkin cheesecake bars. I've got it set out into the 3 layers that we're gonna be having: the crust, the cream cheese, like the cheesecake, and then the pumpkin layer on top. So I'll go into more detail as I go. The first thing I'm gonna do is the crust, and I've got 2 tablespoons of sugar here, 1/4 cup of melted butter, and then 1 2/3 cup of graham cracker crumbs. You could crumble up your own graham crackers, but I found this at a grocery outlet store that we have here, and it's just the pack of graham cracker crumbs. So I'm sure they have those at Walmart and stuff too. So that's what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna mix up these 3 ingredients and then put it in a very well sprayed 9x13 baking dish. So I'm just mixing all 3 together really well, and then we'll put it in our pan. For the cheesecake layer, it's just a few ingredients. I've got 2 blocks of cream cheese, so 16 ounces of that, and I had it sitting out for a little bit so it got nice and soft. I've got 1/2 cup of sugar, 2 eggs, and then 1/4 cup of sour cream. And I've also got vanilla, and we'll use a teaspoon of that, but I'm not gonna add that until we mix these ingredients up. I've got my hand mixer. We're just gonna put all of the ingredients into this bowl and mix it all up. So now we're just gonna layer this on top of our graham cracker crust and stick it in the oven on 325 for about 30 to 35 minutes. I cooked it for about 34 minutes, and I think it's good and done now. I'm just gonna let this cool completely before I add on the other ingredients, like the pumpkin layer on top of it. But for this pumpkin layer, I've got 1/2 cup of brown sugar and 1/2 cup of regular sugar, 2 eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla, 1/4 cup of water, which will be for the gelatin, and then a can of pumpkin puree, a teaspoon of pumpkin pas, a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 cup of milk, and then 1 packet of this unflavored gelatin. In a medium saucepan on medium heat, I'm going to combine both types of the sugars, the milk, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a teaspoon of the pumpkin pas, 2 eggs, and a can of pumpkin. I'm going to cook this for 10 minutes, mixing it every couple minutes. Ten minutes is up, so I'm going to take it off the heat and then stir in our 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then I'm going to set this to the side and put our 1/4 cup of water on this eye and let that heat up for just a second before I add in the pack of the gelatin mix on top of it. I've got it turned to low and I'm adding in the gelatin mix, Mix that all together. It'll probably take about 5 minutes for it to mix really well. And then we'll just mix it in with the pumpkin until it's smooth. Pour all of that pumpkin mixture right on top of our cheesecake, and then I'm gonna stick it in the refrigerator. You can just do a few hours to let it sit, but I'm making this at night, so I'm actually going to let it sit overnight, and then we'll check on it in the morning and add some whipped topping and have this little treat. Taken it out of the fridge, cut it up into slices, and then put some whipped topping on it. It turned out so good. Look at those layers, and taste test confirmed that it is delicious, y'all. For the next apple recipe that we're making, it's going to be a caramel apple pretzel salad, and it was very, very good. I've never made anything like this before, and I was very surprised. So I'm going to separate it into two parts. The pretzel part first, I've got 3/4 a cup of butter, 3/4 a cup of brown sugar, half a cup of pecans, or a little less because we were out of them, and then 1 cup of crushed up pretzels. The first thing I did was melt my butter and then mix in the rest of the ingredients, so the crushed pretzels, pecans, and brown sugar, and just stirred that together really well, and then spread it out on a large baking pan. And I did have mine covered with aluminum foil just so that it would be not too much of a mess and come out looking okay. And then I actually baked that on 400 for about 7 minutes, and then once it comes out of the oven, you want to set it aside and allow it to cool completely, and then break it into pieces later on into the recipe. So while the pretzel mixture was in the oven, I went ahead and started on the other ingredients, and I've got a pack of cream cheese, just an 8-ounce block of it. We've got some mini marshmallows. Then I'm using 3 apples. I've got a Granny Smith one and 2 Honeycrisp apples, I believe is what I used. And then don't pay any mind to the 2 tubs of whipped topping. There is definitely not that much in it. I just got the measurements wrong, and I only needed part of one of those tubs, so just ignore the fact that there are 2 huge ones sitting there. And then I've also got some caramel dip as well. For the apples, I just cut them into bite-sized pieces and set them aside until I was ready to use them. And here you'll see I was ready to get the pretzel out, and once I took it out, at first it was bubbly and I was a little concerned that I did something wrong, but then after 30 seconds it cooled down a little bit and all the bubbles went down. So the next thing I did was just set that aside to let it cool, and I started on my other mixture. So I mixed up my cream cheese, and it could definitely stand to be a little bit more softened than mine was, so definitely let yours soften more than I did. I always have trouble letting mine soften for some reason. Then I also added in the half a cup of caramel and mixed that together with the hand mixer as well. After I got the cream cheese and caramel mixed together really good, I took 3 cups of the whipped topping and then folded that into that mixture. The last thing you have to do is just mix in the rest of the ingredients. So I've got 3 cups of the diced apples, and then I did 2 cups, I believe, of the mini marshmallows. You can just kind of do that to your liking. And then I also added in the sugared pretzel mixture that we had. I broke it up into pieces before mixing it in. And then when you're serving it, you can drizzle it with some more of that caramel sauce on top. Y'all, this was so good. It was definitely yummy. It was kind of rich. It's definitely a treat. Yum. Here's how mine looked after having it in the fridge for a little bit. I had stuck it in there and it was so good after sitting and getting chilled and just all of those flavors coming together. I drizzled it with some caramel. The kids actually really liked this one too, so it's definitely a family favorite, and I plan on making this one again because it was delicious. So for this next easy recipe, I've actually got the boys in here helping me. We're gonna be making these pumpkin cookies that we make every single year, even though they probably don't even remember doing it. It's kind of become a tradition and they're so good. It makes quite a bit of them. So I've got 3 separate pans here to put them on. I do have the oven preheated to 350, but all you need for this recipe is a box of spice cake mix. If you don't like that extra like little kick of flavor, then you could just use like yellow cake mix instead. I've got 1 can of pumpkin, a cup of chocolate chips, and then a little cup of brown sugar to sprinkle on top too. That's totally optional, but I love the extra flavor that adds. We just mix all 3 of these things together and that is it. Porter, are you gonna help me cook or are you gonna eat all the chocolate chips?
Not good.
Oh, that's what I thought. Chocolate chips.
No.
Okay.
I want to eat one.
Oh no.
One.
Okay, the rest of them are for the recipe, okay? Okay, Porter? Yeah, that's totally believable. Pour this whole thing into the bowl. Yep. Just like that. I think you got it.
Smells good.
It does smell good, doesn't it?
It's not spicy though.
Oh. Okay, Porter, can you pour all of those chocolate chips in there?
Oh, not that part.
It's okay, we'll take turns. Can you pour all the chocolate chips in there?
Porter?
Do you need some help?
Porter, don't eat them all. Porter, they're for the recipe.
Okay. Now can you dump this in there now that I got you a little bowl? Oh, wow. Good job. I think we're going to end up short a few chocolate chips for sure. This is a really easy and yummy recipe for the kids, I think.
Whoa, it's turning.
Do you like cooking?
Yeah. Okay.
You like cooking too, Porter? Yep, chocolate chips. That's your answer for everything, huh? Yeah.
Chocolate chips.
Pumpkin chocolate chips.
Yeah.
Think they'll be good?
Yeah.
Me too.
I don't like the weird stuff, the chocolate chips and sugar. Yeah. It smells good.
The sugar is cake mix.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the chocolate chips and the sugar is good.
Okay. So now that we finally got that mixed up, we're just gonna use our cookie scoop and fill up our 3 trays, sprinkle some brown sugar on it, and stick it in the oven for probably about 8 minutes. So here they are. They did take a little bit longer than what I said in the beginning. I'm not sure where I got 8 minutes, but it took more like 12 minutes. You can hear the kids in the background all sugared up. They're so good. They are a softer cookie and they're just really yummy. So a super easy little dessert to try. For the last apple recipe that we're going to make, I'm making an apple butter pie and using our homemade apple butter to make it. And the ingredients are this pie crust. I'm using the refrigerated kind, just one of them. And then I've got 2 eggs, half a cup of the apple butter, then half a cup of the white sugar, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. It's not pictured here because I didn't use it, but I definitely will next time. It just needed that extra flavor, I think. I was thinking I wouldn't need it because of the apple butter, because we make cinnamon apple butter, but it still needed it. And then I've got 2 cups of whole milk. I actually opted to use evaporated milk though, so I'm using the cans of that instead. The first thing I did was just beat the eggs with a hand mixer in a bowl, and then I added in the sugar, cornstarch, and apple butter and mixed that together before adding in the milk and whisking that. Once I got all of that mixed together, I got my 9-inch pie plate and spread out the best I could the pie crust onto it after I sprayed it. And y'all, I'm terrible at making the pretty edges, so just ignore that, but it got the job done and held the pie in there. I did poke it with some forks. I really don't even know if you're supposed to do that, but I did it anyway, so there you go. And then I just poured it all into the dish and baked it on 375 for about an hour to an hour and 5 minutes, just until it was done. And you want it to be slightly jiggly in the center when you're done with it. Once it was done in the oven, I set it on that rack just to cool completely before cutting into it. Y'all, this came out looking so good and I was really excited to try it, but like I said earlier, I think it really did need that cinnamon added into it, so I would definitely do that. I will probably try this again to try to redeem myself, because it was like the apple butter flavor just wasn't coming out in it like it should. But overall, we still liked it. It just needed more of a kick. So that's going to be it for the recipes. I hope you guys enjoyed it and that it maybe provided you with a new dessert idea. Let me know again if you make any of these or want to make any of them. I would love to hear about it. But until next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye, y'all.